Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I just recently posted two videos. One was of everything you need to know about Flux Proof of Useful Work, and it goes through the operating system and what we should expect from basically how you're going to be able to mine on there and how it uses your resources on your computer to rent them out to different requests from users and different types of functionality that they require. The end of that video is really important because I go through a lot of hardware discussions, and one of the most important things, if not the most important, is your motherboard. New generations of CPUs and new motherboards do not have the same spacing and proper configuration for maximizing a motherboard's and CPU's capacity for PCI lanes. So I go through a couple of videos, a couple of motherboards there that have one or two PCI 8x or 16x lanes, and the issue is that their spacing is not properly set out to add a third card or what have you. So in this build log, we go through the motherboard. We have three spaces again properly lined out. I go through how I configure it, and we also add a ton of storage. I grabbed all my SSDs, tossed them in there for proof of useful storage, so that when we have the Flux operating system set out, I can set that to a storage node as well, and there's probably a couple of terabytes of NVMEs just lined up in there. So it's pretty cool how this build log turns out, but it's very important that when you guys go out and look for hardware, maybe consider buying an older generation, or if you already have an older generation CPU, the motherboards for that are really good. So I'm using two i7s, X99 series and X97 series motherboards, and those allow me to have three GPUs all in a row without having to compromise. And I did go in a video showing you how you could get four GPUs on one motherboard for a desktop build, and maybe I'll go through that in another build. But for this one, let's just go for the ride and see number two, proof of useful work storage and proof of useful work GPU configuration. I've got one more to build, so stay tuned. I'm going to be doing that, and then I'm going to be doing a new chia harvester and plotter because I've been waiting for compressed plots and those haven't come yet, but I think I'm just going to pull the trigger. I'm sick of sitting on 500 terabytes of storage doing nothing. So, all right guys, stay tuned. Let me know what you think. All right, here we are with another proof of useful work video build log. So this is another older i7 system that I had laying around, and it does everything that is required. So this is an i7 12 thread, a 6 core GPU. This is DDR3, so I don't know how much reliance on proof of useful work DDR3 is going to be, but we'll just have to try and test it out. This does have the ability to have three GPUs in it, so you go 1, skip, 2, skip, 3, and the third one is not going to breach the border of the motherboard tray, which allows me to have three GPUs in here, and I have plenty of slots. I have a ton of DDR3 RAM, but it's mixed matched. So we're gonna try to toss it in here and see how it goes. I have had a lot of issues with this motherboard in the past. It's been recycled a few times, tossed in different CPUs. The BIOS kind of like came and went and then froze. So ideally, I would love to be able to get all three GPUs working on here, but I don't really have high hopes for this one, but stay tuned anyways, and we'll try it out. Okay, so we're back for our second proof of useful work build. I just showed you a clip of us getting all three cards put into an older motherboard again with 32 gigs of DDR3 RAM. The only issue with that motherboard that I can see is that there's no NVMe on there, so we're gonna have to be utilizing the SATA for storage, and that's gonna be fine, I think. SATA, it might work, but the NVMe, I'm not too sure how that will work for the operating system, so we'll have to see. I may not be able to use that board. I really hope I can, but we'll see. Anyway, so in this one, we're basically just planning out what we're gonna use this case for. This is one of those big mining cases that have tons of room up here. So the board and the GPUs are all gonna go here, pretty simple. The power supply, I'm not too sure what I want to use for the power supply. I don't have many options. I've got a 2000 watt, I have a 750 watt. I think 850 or 1000 would be perfect for this, but I'm not gonna go out and buy more hardware. So first things first, we're gonna plop the motherboard in, then we'll put in the fans at the back, and yeah, and then we'll figure out the power supply and then the front fans up here. So all right, stay tuned. All right, so we've got the fans and the motherboard plugged in, all the IOs plugged in. We have almost too much room in here. I'm gonna toss in the GPUs just because we know that all works. The 32 gigs of RAM, everything is a go. And we're just gonna go grab a power supply, and then like, it's pretty much all it. The easiest configuration ever. You just got 3 GPUs, CPU, RAM, power supply. And then what I'm gonna use for this is, because there's so many SATA expansions here, there's 8. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have 8 SSDs here for the storage part of proof of work useful storage. So that'll be pretty cool having 8. I hope that having an SSD for an operating system is going to be fast enough for this, but we'll see what the benchmarking tools say. Awesome. All right, so we've got everything installed here. We've got the 3 graphics cards, the motherboard, the 32 gigs of RAM. It's a DDR3, so we'll see, and it's a mix mash of multiple kinds of RAM. So we'll see if that works, if that suffices for proof of useful work. The 280mm fans at the back. This motherboard has 8 SATA ports. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna go and utilize all of my spare SSDs and have an SSD rack basically right here with 8 SSDs. And hopefully they'll be able to utilize that for storage, so proof of useful storage. Moving to the power supply, I'm really trying not to spend any money on this project. And I bought this a couple of years ago, and it's a 1500 watt power supply, which is fine. It's made for two motherboards actually, because it has 2 24-pin slots, which is also fine, but it does waste a bit of space on that. And then the problem is it has a C14 connector. So I'm gonna have to go buy a C14 connector in order to use this. That's okay, because otherwise I don't have another power supply that's suitable. I have a bunch of 750 watts, 600 watts, and that's just not enough. So I do have a 1000 watt power supply, but that's gonna be for my desktop build because it's way too pretty for this stuff. So I'm gonna use this. I just gotta buy the pin out here to either 240 volt or 120 volt, and we'll start wiring things up with that. And then we've got one more. I've got a motherboard coming in the mail with a CPU, and we're gonna toss it in there, toss 3 more 3070s in it, and that'll be it. We'll have 3 3070s, 3 3070s, 3 3070s. These are just gonna be miners, and the 3 of these servers are gonna be proof of useful work. So it's coming along, and I haven't had to spend any money on it. So far, that is really cool. All right, and we're back, and we have everything set up. This one's a little bit different from the first one we built. It's got a 1500 watt power supply, which I just got the proper plug for the back, which is a C19 to a regular C14, I think. We've got 6 SATA drives in here. I couldn't find a nicer solution. Either they were all sprawled out everywhere, or I kind of put them like just hanging in this drive cage for now. I could probably mount each one of them like this, so that's probably what I'll do just for cleanliness, kind of get them mounted solidly in here. This cable is going to always be coming out. Might be able to put it through here. But anyways, that's just cable management, and that's just OCD stuff. We have the, we bought the fan controller here again. We've got the 3 Chunkus fans that are wedged in there that are great. And we're ready to turn it on and start configuring configuring the fans, really. That's the first thing we have to do, because these things are going to blow up. So alright, she's on. Alright, so we're all booted up. Everything is showing. I have to go into disk part and just delete all the file systems on all the drives, but all 6 of the drives are showing up. And I do have to just fix the fan curve for these ones. These 2 are not going on. This one's going on over bore. Anyways, as soon as we fix the fan curves on this in the BIOS, it's all set to go. We got the 3 GPUs running. We've got the i7 12-thread CPU. We got 32 gigs of RAM, 1500 watt power supply, 6 SSDs, one 500 terabyte, a 500 gig, and the rest are 240 gigs. And then the 3 flow fans in the front. So that's rig number 2 is complete, and this is going to be more of a storage and GPU rig, because it's got all of my remaining SSDs in it. So that's going to be pretty cool once we get that set up. Awesome. All right, guys, that's number 2. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned. I got a motherboard coming for this one, for number 3. We're going to toss 2 Zotaks in and 1 Founders into the next server, which will give us 3 proof of useful work servers. And then I'll still have my 2 standard mining servers, 3070 rig and 3080 rig. So things are coming along. I am prepared and ready for proof of useful work. Hopefully you guys are, and hopefully you learned a few things about this process, and hopefully I didn't lead you astray. Awesome. All right, guys, stay tuned for the next one.